I lost a committee member, so now it's easier to get.
Oh, really?
Malik, he got picked up by a professional football team.
Oh,
Yes.
right.
Which is like super. Yeah, the Texas
You
Oilers.
can't do community boards, so I think just, oh, he's gonna be.
Legally, I don't think he can, so, you know.
Okay, I think, are
Do
we,
you just appear to be a public member? Oh, you can just be a public member whenever.
That we can look into.
I mean, I don't know if you'll want to.
That might be, no, because that might be the answer for Isabel.
Yeah.
okay.
But then she wouldn't be able to count for quorum. That's the other problem.
Public
Yeah.
members come.
Hey Todd, hey
No, she's
Donna.
not
Hey,
physically-
guys.
Making it harder for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Except
so-
for the after work, which having her there makes it significantly easier. But she's great and gets it. And one of my friends.
Hi, everyone online. We're just waiting for some more members to show up before we start.
I like seeing applications in the wild. It's fun.
Oh, like when they actually happen.
Yeah.
Josh, Janice and I went to lunch in one of our applications.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, yeah? Where was that?
You
The,
were there.
Yeah.
I thought you meant a different one. Highly recommend.
oh wait, this is from yesterday. Well, these are not the right names, but I guess it's fine. Can't see the name tags anyway.
So the quorum is 8, right? More than half,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
15 total.
6.
Yeah, right now we have 6.
My friend posted the every drop counts artist event. Instagram was like, I know about this. I was like, "Oh, thank you." It was
I
great.
don't think this is the right, that's the right set.
Oh, it's not us?
It's
Oh,
for yesterday. so.
We're gonna mute her.
No, we can hear you.
Hey, Catherine.
Hi,
Hi, Catherine.
hello, good evening, everyone.
Oh.
Yeah, we have 7. Wait a minute.
I walked over to the bathroom, I didn't have the coat. Be back.
Or is the women's one far away?
Woman is like right
Ah,
there, yeah.
Yeah, it's,
There's.
Okay.
Yes, should have Chris, we should have.
Josh, is there anyone from the public? in attendance or in the waiting room or anything?
No.
We could have,
That's just payments, right? Are there any attendees, Josh?
No.
Hi, this is John Reman. I'm the general manager at the JW Marriott Essex House for the Outdoor Cafe.
hi, John. Thanks for
Hello.
joining us.
Thanks.
Okay, perfect.
Sorry.
Okay. We have eight, we have two online and then.
Online people don't come for forum.
Okay, so some days.
Oh.
Yeah.
I guess not.
Yeah.
Josh.
Okay, so.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay,
Right in
great.
front of this camera. So here,
I mean, they move anyway.
nothing against you. I just don't.
Thanks for clarifying.
Stare straight into it.
All right,
I'm sitting
let's get started.
closer, makes it.
Miles, can you confirm we have a forum? Great. Okay, good evening, everyone. This is the State Licenses and Permits Committee of Community Board 5. I'm Janice Young, your committee chair, and we'll go around the room to introduce ourselves, starting with my vice chair.
Oscar.
Hi, BJ Sun.
Sabrina India.
Libby Hatton.
David Shapiro.
And online.
Todd Shapiro, Vice Chair, longtime member.
You're
Kath-
on. Oh, sorry, Catherine. Go ahead.
Catherine Ellington.
You're on, Noti Victor.
Zona Zoo.
Great. So we have 3 items on the agenda tonight. The first will be 45 East 20th Street, Majesty's Pleasure NY1 Inc., doing business as Majesty's Pleasure. Second will be 160 Central Park South, DTRS Essex House LLC, doing business as Southgate Restaurant, also known as JW Marriott Essex House. And then lastly, an update from the Cannabis Task Force. Is there anyone attending that has any other business for the committee other than the items on the agenda? If so, please raise your hand in person or virtually using the raise hand button. Okay, seeing none, new business is closed. We'll now move on to our agenda items. So as a reminder, when I call an application, I'll ask the applicant to introduce themselves. I'll then turn the meeting over to a committee member who will present the application and give a summary of the specifics of the method of operation. After that, I'll give the applicant an opportunity to speak. At any time during that process, members of the committee can ask questions and make comments by raising their hand and waiting to be recognized. After that, I'll give the public the opportunity to comment, again, by using the raise hand button. Once they are recognized, we will ask them to turn on the camera, unmute themselves, state who they are and their relevance to the application, and give their comment. After that, I'll put the committee into business session, during which only the committee will discuss the application. At that point, no further input from the applicant or the public is appropriate unless requested by the chair. During the business session, the committee will discuss the application, there will be a motion, and the committee will take a vote. The vote of this committee will be our recommendation to the full board of CB5, which will be on Thursday, October 10th. Please check our website for more information. And the vote of the full board will be CB5's position on the application. So with that, we'll move to our first item, and to all members in the public, during the comment period, please keep your comments effective and to the point. So first item will be 45 East 20th Street, Majesty's Pleasure. Can I have the applicant please introduce themselves?
Hi, everybody. My name is Jeff Armstrong. I'm the co-founder, director, and one of the shareholders of Majesty's Pleasure NY1 Inc., operating as Majesty's Pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, Jeff. Is there anyone else here with you tonight?
No, just myself.
Okay, great. Okay, you're on. You want to present this
Yeah.
application?
You bet. So The application tonight is for a new liquor license for Majesty's Pleasure NY1 Inc. Doing business as Majesty's Pleasure, 45 East 20th Street. That's between Broadway and Park Avenue South, and it's on the second floor. So the operation is a luxury spa or beauty salon, or there's a lot of different language you can use, and we can get into that. It is manis, pedis. There's a hair station. It's beauty salon oriented, and they are seeking a license to operate a bar on the premises to serve drinks to their clients. The applicant has 2 operations already operating in Toronto. This would be the third location. The space is 5,000 square feet, but obviously the majority of that is given over to the beauty salon operations. And the bar area has 12 stools around it. They have a partial kitchen, a prep kitchen, to serve food along with some drinks. And then, noise, I shouldn't say noise, music, recorded music, not live music, hours from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. Hours from 10 a.m., I believe, to 8 p.m. when they close, but the license they're seeking is to 11 p.m. to accommodate the occasional event. What I want to flag to the committee and sort of why we're here is we received no community comment on this. And in fact, some community comment that was, hey, that sounds great for the neighborhood. We're here because there are 2 aspects of this application. This application is in the RLA, and there are 2 aspects of it that technically are not in compliance with the regulations that we have in the RLA. So I just want to call the committee's attention to that. And then in the comment section, I'll speak more on this. And that is the square footage. So the RLA stipulates square footage up to 4,000 square feet. This is 5,000 square feet. And it does not have a full kitchen. It has a prep kitchen. So those are the broad contours of the application. Are there any questions on that? Zona.
Is like the method of operation going to be like consistent throughout the day? Like I think you mentioned like a beauty aspect. Is that like the full day?
Yeah, that is the operation. I should say it's also going to be, and Jeff can jump in on this, it's going to be members only. It's not operating that way right now. So anyone can sort of make an appointment, but the other, I believe, 2 locations operate on a membership fee. In order to have a drink, you need to have a beauty session booked, right? You can't just come off the street and be like, hey, this is a bar, I'm going to buy a drink. It's like if you come, you're getting your nails done, you're getting your hair done, and you can get a drink before, you can get a drink after, you can stay with your friend and have a drink. But it is the method of operation is a beauty salon. It's not a beauty element, it is a beauty salon.
Thank you.
Great. Scott?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
So, so I'm always interested and tend to be supportive of any entrepreneurial and unusual new business opportunities that arise in our district. Historically, the word club or something unusual like this, where people are serving drinks, and it's not the usual bar or restaurant, at least in my time on the committee, was looked at with a little bit of extra scrutiny because, the term club, exclusive club, at least by neighbors or people that live in neighborhoods or districts where they had exclusive clubs and crazy things started happening, was often an issue. So I'm just curious to hear, the fact that it doesn't comply with, I think I heard Yaron say this, with our RL restricted licensing area conditions. Usually if it doesn't, that's an issue for us. If it's just a run-of-the-mill well, not a run-of-the-mill. If it's more like a standard restaurant or bar, we really have to hear a compelling reason to allow it. In this case, because it's more of a like a hair place or hair cutting place or beauty boutique or whatever, you know, I think that we should be open about considering it, even though it doesn't exactly comply with our RLA conditions. So, you know, I'd like to hear the applicant speak to these issues. What can they do to assure us that it's not going to be a private club with all sorts of crazy, noisy things going on, that it's a responsible business? I thought I heard Yaron say that there were 2 others that are working well, and I'd like to hear about that. And seeing that there are no other people that seem to be up in arms about this, you know, I think we should listen carefully to what they have to say, and let's hear what they have to say.
So are we doing comments, Janice? Since that was
questions and comments. Jeff, is there anything you want to say directly in response to that? You don't have to, but.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to. Again, thanks for the opportunity, everybody. And Todd, thanks for allowing me to address the business. I appreciate it. And all very fair questions. I think somewhere along the line during the questionnaire, square footage came up. I think our rentable square footage is that number. The usable square footage, the actual square footage of the location is 3,600. So the actual as-built dimensions of the room is actually 3,600. The way our building works with the rentable versus usable, our usable square footage is, so we pay for up to 5,000, but we only get to use 3,600. So that may fall more in line with the RLAs. And again, we do have a prep kitchen. It's not a full kitchen, but we have a menu of up to 20 items where we're preparing foods like yogurt parfaits and paninis and other sort of light bites to go along with the requirements of our menu. As you mentioned, Todd, we have 2 locations in Toronto, and we've actually won awards all around the world for our design, our concept, our luxury services, our standards of service. We've won awards in Toronto year after year every year for, you know, the most luxurious services provided, and that's up against all the major hotel chains in Toronto. It's a husband and wife business. I'm a former investment banker, and my wife is a former architect, and we have a huge passion for the hospitality industry. And we thought that women deserved more in the salon environment. We found nail salons and hair salons to be places that didn't have high levels of sterilization, didn't have high levels of decor and atmosphere. We felt there was a mistreatment of clients and a mistreatment of personnel, and we thought we could do a better job. And as my wife says, women just deserve better. So we created this concept to combine hospitality, luxury design, and take a lot of points from hotels and restaurants and try and bring a very safe and enjoyable hospitality element to our salon environment. So I think I've hit some of the points. I didn't write down all the questions, but as Yaron mentioned, we are a multi-concept business, but as I think it was Zona asked the question about our operation, 75% of all of our sales come from manicures and pedicures. We are through and through a high-end luxury spa salon, offering manicures, pedicures, cut, color, and facials, no massage. So from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m., we are seeing women between the ages of 35 and 55 and offering luxury treatments. 50% of our clients order something from the cafe/bar, and 50% of that is something of an alcoholic beverage. So, you know, the majority of the time we're serving very elevated cappuccinos, superfood lattes, juices, cold pressed juices. It's a very health-focused menu, but of course we have a cocktail bar, and that's part of the lure and differentiation. And we serve, you know, very fine wines and champagnes. I don't want to confuse the idea of club with a nightclub. So again, my wife's vision is to create a very inclusive and very safe space for women to socialize. And I think, you know, her vision is that A lot of women like to socialize around beauty services, but typically a salon is not built in a way that is conducive to getting together. So as an example, we do hair around not an actual table where you eat, but a dining table, so you can actually go get a hair service with your friend and actually look at them instead of sitting side by side. So we say club because it's a place that's for socializing. And furthermore, we in our Canadian operations are up to 25% of our guests are members. So they buy a membership where for a certain fixed price, they can enjoy unlimited services. So when we say club, we actually mean membership club, but our business will always be open to appointments to be booked online. We are not an exclusive club. We are very inclusive of both the public and our own members. That was all sort of.
If I could just interject for a second, I'm glad you brought up that point, because the condition of a liquor license is that it be open to the general public without discrimination. So as I understand what you're saying, even though people just can't walk in off the street, anybody can go and call you and make a reservation. So it's open. We could argue or construe that it's open in the sense that anybody could call and come in. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. 60% of our guests already in our New York location are recurring members. 40% are new. So every day we're seeing new clients. We'll start selling memberships on Monday, but the memberships are simply a recurring customer's desire for value with their frequent purchases. So, they might pay $70 for a manicure every time, and now they can buy a membership. So it works out to, $50 for every 2 manicures they get. So it's not that you have to have a membership to walk in. It's a membership for services. It's not about a membership for accessing the space. The space is always available for someone to book an appointment, come in, receive a service, and enjoy the hospitality.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Wait, let me just toss it back to you, Ron, for a second.
Yeah, that's my bad. When I said members only, yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
I knew there was a membership component, but I want to apologize.
Yeah.
Sorry
that's
about
okay.
that.
No apology needed. No.
Yeah,
Thanks for visiting.
Yeah, and I just to add on that, like my sort of analysis, having done this application, is that to me this is a no-brainer for this kind of stuff that we should be approving for the RLA. Like this is exactly in the spirit of the RLA. The RLA was made to sort of unencourage nightclubs and encourage other kinds of businesses, and this is a great one. And the hours are great for residents and conform to what residents are looking for. And this seems like an interesting and adaptive use of commercial space in the RLA. And so and we saw, again, no negative comment on it. So I think although there are these technical reasons that it is not in compliance with the RLA, I see, I will be voting to approve this application.
Thanks, John. BJ?
Yeah, so will you be, 2 questions. Is this, you said it's only for females, so in some ways, getting back to Todd's question about liquor license, one of the provisions that it's open to the public, so men will not be allowed? Will you serve men?
No, that's not the case. No, I mean, it was designed with the female in mind because that's the majority of the consumer in the beauty service industry pertaining to manicures and pedicures. But on any given day, you'll see dates, you'll see father-daughter. So it's not been designed exclusive for female. There's no language in anything that we advertise that's for females, but it's definitely been designed around the female consumer. But no, we're a very open and inclusive employer and service provider.
And are you serving food if it's open to 11 o'clock, serving alcohol?
Yeah, we are serving food. Our hours are actually 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. I think on the application we've put 11. I'm giving a good example. Sephora and Rihanna's Fenty Hair wanted to host the launch of her new shampoo in New York City during Fashion Week. So we had the event until 8 p.m., but then there was still guests sort of enjoying networking, and we were tearing down the space. And so we were in the space until 11 p.m. So, once a month, there'll be these type of large sort of PR events that are launching beauty products. There's never a night when we're open as a business doing services and opening the bar till 11 p.m. For the public to attend. And we have a food menu. Our breakfast items include yogurt parfaits and smoothies and baked goods. Our afternoon includes paninis, salads, fresh fruit, charcuterie. And then in the afternoon, we have snacks that include sort of nuts and macaroons and other sort of small bites.
I think like similar to the movie theater or the Broadway show, you know, we are getting away from nightclubs and cabarets. And when we look at the problem operators in the RLA, they are the grandfathered or, you know, legacied in operators that have been there a long time. And I think that encouraging uses like this that are a little bit more novel, getting away from just alcohol. You know, I don't drink personally. I also don't get pedicures, I guess, so maybe this isn't for me, but I think this is a great venture and I would fully support it.
Thanks for your consideration and support.
Yeah, that's good.
Any other questions or comments for the applicant from the committee? Okay, Jeff, I did have one question going back to the events that you mentioned. Have you given any thought to crowd control, like how many people you're expecting for those kind of events, or like how that would work?
I mean, we have a capacity of 74 with the license, and we would never go over that. For any large event such as the Fenty event, we also had our own grand opening party. We had a security company that worked the lobby. The good thing about our building is that after 5 and on weekends, it's by intercom access only. So that does help, you know, some of the access in the later evenings and also on the weekends. But with any event that would be over sort of our typical volume of like 20 people an hour, we've already used security to be in the lobby to ensure that the adequate number of people are upstairs or not upstairs.
Great. And are those events ticketed, or is it like reservation based?
Yeah, they're invite only, and they're typically done by the PR firm. These are not events that we're selling for tickets, and the attendees are 100% beauty editors, fashion editors, and influencers that are part of sort of the beauty industry. These events are not for the purpose of generating revenue. It's quite the opposite. It's for gaining exposure to products that are being featured or launched in the salon.
Great, thank you.
Other events that we've hosted events for Netflix and for Microsoft and for CD&R, which is a very large private equity fund in the area, where they're looking to treat female employees. So guys do golf day, women do spa day. So we're hosting, you know, female employees from these companies and providing them pampering services and giving them a day off to enjoy themselves.
Got it. And for these events, would you be maintaining the same method of operation? So this just, for example, recorded music only, played at background level. Okay, great.
Yep. And it's not like we turn the keys over to these events. We're actually the venue manager. So it's our staff, it's our managers, it's our team. They're simply there as guests, featuring their brands or their companies.
Perfect. Catherine?
Yes, so I just wanted to know if there has been, I can't imagine that there has, but because you're in places like Toronto, which I think of as a mirror city to New York City, have you had any challenges to your business operations in other locations? How do neighbors, have there been situations with neighbors?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I mean, most of our neighbors are hospitality, fashion, retail, so it's quite the opposite. We're very collaborative. So in Toronto, we're neighbors with Brunello Cucinelli and Chanel, and we take care of all their clients, we take care of all their management, we take care of all their front of house, and we do gifting programs with those businesses. We're in the base building of a condominium building. The majority of those condominium owners who are females are our clients. So I think it's quite the opposite. We're usually quite collaborative and work well with our neighborhoods. In Toronto, we close the venue 6 times a year to bring in women from battered and high-risk relationships. We partner to bring them into the salon and to provide them a day to look better, feel better, and we partner them up with with interviews and opportunities to create resumes and get ready for the workforce. This is all done without, mention to the public. This is something we do completely quietly. So even with some of the shelters and businesses in the area that assist females in sort of high risk living conditions, we also partner with those charities. So we're very involved with our communities, and we're also very celebrated in those communities.
So I just wanted to make a comment quickly and say that I too will be supporting this application. You do seem like an ideal good neighbor. We look for applicants to be good neighbors, and we hope that you will get to know the neighborhood, the residents, the community, and be a part of that. You seem to have a lot of good vibe and energy in your model. And this too, as it's already been said, is an application where we're seeing a growing number of different business models that include the need for a liquor license, and that it should be presented in a way that, just like you said, the scale of liquor in context with what your business bottom line is about is appreciated. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks, Catherine. Yeah, I think the desire to have a liquor license is simply an amenity to what we're offering as a core service. And yeah, I mean, we believe that if we take care of our employees, we take care of our community, then our employees take care of our customers, and our customers take care of us. So that's sort of the model. So thank you for your time and comments. And again, the broadness that this committee oversees is shocking. Yaran told me the neighborhood borders that you guys oversee. So I appreciate everyone's time and consideration and supportive comments tonight. It's very exciting. Thank you.
I guess as a comment, I'm supportive of this as a neighbor a few blocks away. My question is was there an ask for a later time? Because I'm supportive of later times. I like when businesses stay open later. There's a lot of businesses that are closing too early, and I'm very comfortable with pushing timing out. So is 11 p.m. is what you've asked for as the maximum? Okay, then that's fine.
Yeah, and we operated until 1 a.m. in Toronto, and we found that the consumer between 8 or 9 p.m. And then the consumer from 9 till midnight was a very different consumer. And we ran into a number of situations where we were finding ourselves operating more of a late night bar versus sort of the upscale sort of salon business. So we've decided to kind of limit the business to those operating hours. That being said, we're new to the New York and Flatiron consumer, and actually our reservations for our spa and salon services from 5 p.m. till 8 p.m. it's our busiest time. So there may be time in the future where we consider being open for services, but the bar would never be open without the services. We are not a cocktail bar, we're a spa salon first. But we're, the hospitality component is important. But I think to your point, I think the New York consumer is something new to us. And so in the future, we might be open to being available and open later for services as people wrap up a late night at work, a late night gym session, or simply look to us for a social experience. So appreciate that feedback as a neighbor. It's something we'll consider in the future, but not just exclusively as a bar.
Thanks, Jeff. Is there anything else from the committee before I go to the public? Okay. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this application? If so, please click the raise hand button now. Or there's one call-in listener, which I don't remember how to advise them how to raise their hands.
Star 9.
Star 9.
They're on their phone.
Yeah. Okay. I think if the call-in listener wants to raise their hand, it's star 9. Okay. Seeing none, I will put the committee into business session. During business session, no additional comment from the applicant or the public is appropriate unless requested by the chair. Yeah, so to summarize what we've heard so far, I think it's pretty clear that the method of operation being proposed is not one of a bar or restaurant, but of like an actual beauty salon. I think Jeff's latest comments really emphasized that. And really, like Yaron said, the reason why this came to committee was just for a couple misaligning points with the RLA, one being the square footage, which actually Jeff clarified that for patron use, it is under 4,000 square feet, so that's actually not an issue. And the second being the fact that it will be a partial kitchen instead of a full kitchen. Any comments from the committee?
So just to clarify, the only part that is not in agreement with the RLA is the kitchen.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, I fully support, and I'm happy to make a motion when we're ready.
I think we're ready.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, I move that we support this application.
Can I just make a
But
comment?
does anyone disagree with that before we
I
make a
just
motion?
have a procedural or general comment. When we're drafting the resolution, there should be some mention made of why we're giving an approval to this, even though it deviates just very slightly from the RLA agreements. It should say something to the effect that, you know, because of the outstanding record of the applicant and the fact that there are no issues of a club and the hours of operation, that, you know, this warrants, you know, our exercising our discretion to allow the deviation from the RLA standards.
In that case, I move that we approve the application.
Wait.
and the resolution.
So to Todd's point, it's just like, why is this okay? And can someone just, for the record, state why it's okay to bypass that one outlying factor?
Well,
You're
Todd,
on.
I mean, yeah, I can't, I thought Todd just did. I mean, because this is in the spirit of the RLA. This is exactly what the RLA is meant to do, is to encourage different kinds of uses and businesses, and it conforms in spirit to everything the RLA is trying to accomplish, even though it does not have a full kitchen.
Okay, great. Does anyone disagree with that? Okay, no.
Great. I move that we approve the application
Well,
and any.
Not approve.
Oh, why?
Our language, remember, that we use.
Deny unless they comply with the.
Well, hold on, I have a procedural question on that, Janice. So
Yeah.
because they are in compliance, so like what, if we're going to deny unless, what would the unless be?
So they would still have to, we would request that you sign on to an affidavit as with our
Right?
liquor license applications, yeah. So just to essentially summarize what we discussed today.
Otherwise, the affidavit doesn't end up, the SLA doesn't really look at applications unless we say deny unless. A lot of it's for the SLA is my understanding. So they're like, oh, right, there's an
Yes.
affidavit. We have to
So
have this.
just, if I could just add in here, it should always be a deny unless conditional on the affidavit, because we always try to get our general set of affidavit conditions, which are, you know, pretty just good
Yeah,
neighbor.
I understand. That's not what I'm asking. Thank you.
Yeah,
What
so,
I'm asking-
Jeff, just for your context, the SLA, when we submit an opinion, they ask us to phrase it as deny unless, even though we are, you know, given that the fact that you are going to have this method of operation, which we do not find problematic, that's just the way we're asked to phrase it. So you will
Deny
still
unless is a
get,
yes.
yeah, it's basically a yes.
So
it's
we're
just
gonna get a deny unless letter, which is actually a yes. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Which outlines all of the conditions.
Yeah,
that we just
and
talked
Okay.
about.
we're asking you to sign an affidavit, which will list out everything we talked about today.
Can I try again?
Yes, please.
I move that we deny the application unless they sign on to an affidavit with the standard stipulations that we have for venues in the RLA area, and that a resolution include the reasons that we are okay with this not being in strict compliance with the RLA. Yeah.
Great. Have a second?
Second.
No vote?
Okay. Alan?
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Christopher?
Yes.
Dave Schaefer?
Oh, sorry, yes. I didn't hear you say my name.
Libby?
Yes.
Janice?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Samir,
Yes.
BJ,
Yes.
and Todd Shapiro,
Yes.
you're on,
Yes.
and Zona.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Okay. So thanks, Jeff. You're on.
Thanks,
We'll work with-
everybody. It's been a lifelong dream to have a business in this community, and I appreciate your support so much. And I hope we can see you as clients or guests or visitors sometime soon.
Good luck.
Thanks, Jeff. Good luck. And Yaron will work with you to get an affidavit signed by the end of next week. So we look forward to receiving.
Thank you. Good luck with the rest of the business. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so next up, we have 160 Central Park South, DTRS Essex House LLC, doing business as Southgate Restaurants, also known as JW Marriott Essex House. Can I have the applicant please introduce themselves?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Nice to meet you all. I'm John Riemann, the general manager of the JW Marriott Essex House. I've been with the property for just over 7 years and been with Marriott for 35, mostly in New York City at a bunch of various properties throughout my career, and look forward to answering any questions or concerns that you may have with our modest outdoor cafe that we're applying for.
Thanks, John. BJ, are you?
I'm tag teaming this with Sachi, and she did the site visits. I have her comments, but I'm at a slight disadvantage. Unfortunately, I do know for the committee's sake, when we asked for comments by actually by the 28th, we received overwhelming 32 comments from nearby residents and neighbors who are against this outdoor cafe. I was trying to have a meeting this Monday with John, the applicant, and community residents. Unfortunately, that meeting didn't take place for some glitch in our side. So we apologize to John and to the residents as well. So this is an outdoor cafe, and majority of the application for liquor license rather. And this is, John, correct me if I'm wrong, this is part of the Essex House, JW Marriott Essex House, and it's called Southgate Restaurant, which already exists, but the outdoor will be called Bourbon Street. Is that correct?
So the interesting part is it's the same location, same restaurant, except we're rebranding it as it's going from Southgate to Bourbon Steak, but it's just a different name. So we're in the process. So when we started our application for the outdoor cafe, it was still Southgate. And we started back in March, I think, when the rules changed for the outdoor cafe. And since then, we've decided to change the name and brand of it, but it's the same location, same type, it's still part of the hotel and everything. So the naming may throw you off a little bit, but it's Southgate will be Bourbon Steak, New York, which is a Michael Mina restaurant, which is run by the hotel. So it's just a naming issue there.
Thank you. The business hours are 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. for 7 days. And when Sach did the site visit, she was able to meet with John, and there were some concerns about the size of the sidewalk. As you know, when we look at our dining out evaluation form, as well as the application, and we have certain requirements. And one of the things is that one of the comments was concerned that the sidewalk was right next to their revolving door, but I think John said they could work with that and create some space. Another one of and hopefully some of the residents are on, they could speak for their concerns, but the majority of the concern has been that it is too narrow and it is a safety concern for pedestrian traffic flow. Being that it's hotel also, the hotel staff would be also out and about to greet guests or help them as they come into the guests from their cars. The other thing is this particular time that Sachi visited, the president was in town, so there was a lot of police barricades. So as you can imagine, the residents are saying there's already enough police barricades, and then if you have a cafe, you really can't walk on that street. And also that the sidewalk street is too narrow. And I think John's, when this was brought up, John, I believe you made a concession saying that maybe the tables would be smaller to give more space on the sidewalk, etc. But overall, again, 32 commenting from the neighbors. And then one neighbor also said You know, there's another outdoor cafe, Maria, I don't know how far that is, but Maria is a new one that has renovated and opened up. But again, just, very, strong opposition for this outdoor cafe. With that, I guess, turn back to Janice.
Thanks, BJ.
Yep. Is it
Okay.
appropriate for me to speak?
Let me give the chance to the community to ask, or
Sure.
the community to ask questions, and then happy to have you respond.
Sure.
Thanks. You're on.
So I'm sorry, can you just clarify, this is a license application or this is a dining out application?
The dining out application, the liquor will have to be licensed separately.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Any questions from the committee?
Does this cafe that they propose meet all of the requirements of the dining out program?
From,
Yes.
from what we understand, yes.
And is there anything that's materially different from a sizing perspective to the Maria Terrace?
It's actually a much smaller footprint where we comply with all the standards of Dining Out NYC. It's a 16-foot global corridor sidewalk, and we're asking for a 4-foot outdoor dining cafe, which is in compliance with all the requirements.
Great. I'd like to hear the comments from the community, but I'm generally supportive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Zona.
That was helpful. I was just gonna ask about the distance, but that cleared it up. Thank you.
Samir.
So you said it was 12 feet. And right now, is that correct?
It's a 16-foot sidewalk. We would take 4, it would allow 12, which is the requirement.
Got it. And then of that 12, is that clear passing space or does that include, like I'm looking at the street, does that include like the street posts? Does that include
No,
street trees?
it's clear. There's no trees or, planters or anything of that nature. Where some of the other sidewalk, there's 3 sidewalk cafes that I know of, Maria, Gabrielle's, and Sarah Beth's, all, leaving less than 12 feet, where we're leaving 12 full feet.
Okay, great.
Todd?
Thanks. So my concern about it is whether or not it sounds like, or even stipulating or taking as a given that you're in compliance with the city's requirements. My concern is overall, given everything else that's going on the block, whether or not it would impact or be appropriate for that block in the overall neighborhood. So that's quite subjective. That's something that the community board's due diligence is supposed to sniff out. My question to you is, given the number of questions about the appropriateness of this cafe license, is there any way that you would be willing to cut down or cut back the number of seats that you propose to try to come to something that might be acceptable to your neighbors?
So a good question, and the issue is with 4 feet, you can really only fit 2 to 4 seats at max against the building. So it's a very, very small footprint. I don't think there's any cafes really smaller than that. And I do want to also add that we have 185 condominium residences that live in our building. And I don't know if any of them are on this here, but none of them have expressed any opposition. They're all quite excited about the amenity to the neighborhood. And I would imagine that they would bring to my attention, and they know that our goal is to do the outdoor dining, and they're all very excited about it. So they're community members as well. So I'm not sure exactly what the nature of the complaints are. But I think by limiting the amount of seats really won't address the width of the sidewalk clear path, because we're only going 2 to 4 wide at max based on the 4-foot footprint that we have.
John, how many seats and tables do you have currently in this proposed application?
Proposed is 28 seats.
So, you know, if it was cut back in some combination of tables and chairs by like, you know, 20% or 30%, there's no way that you could accept that.
I'm not saying that, but I don't know if that helps the issue that I understand the issue to be, which is the clear path of the sidewalk. Because once you come out 4 feet, and the other example that I have is the planters in front of every residence along Central Park South take up the 4-foot footprint anyway. So when I studied the traffic of the flow of foot traffic, no one walks in the space where we're proposing to have the sidewalk cafe, because they're all walking 4 foot off the building, because you're going to run into planters every building, and you're going to run into the entrance planters. So the natural path is in the middle of the sidewalk, and we're giving a 12-foot footprint. So I think it's a good question. I just think that it doesn't really appease anybody in the outcome.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Todd. Any other questions from the committee?
No question. Oh, was it comment? Sorry.
Not yet.
Okay, a question for BJ. Did all 32 complaints come from that one building? That is next to it? Okay.
That was the
Which building?
It's 160 Central Park South, 150 Central Park South.
Okay, so the comments did come from the building that John mentioned.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah.
John, we had a time to comment, and you say you're 185 residents. I mean, there was no comment to support it.
I'm sorry, what was that?
There were zero supportive comments from your residents. It was all opposition, 32.
Right, my residents are all very supportive. 185 residents, everybody's very supportive of the amenity.
I'm just saying for this process, we didn't receive any supporting letters.
Okay. I didn't ask for anybody to send supporting letters.
Yeah, it's typically not common. Anything else from the committee before I open up? I don't see anyone from the public, but any other questions from the committee? Okay, and Josh, can you confirm there's no one from the public online?
There's no.
Okay, so seeing none, I will put the committee into business session. During business session, no additional comment from the applicant or the public is appropriate unless requested by the chair. Yeah, we did.
I think this is a disservice if 30 people made a comment and if we didn't have a chance to, we offered it, but it was our problem, our side, that was not able to accommodate. So I don't feel we're ready to vote on this, not having from the 32 people, because they were very anxious and was going to be on Monday at 4:30. So I feel like we need to, I'm happy to take it on, and we set that meeting up so they could hear, and John could hear from me as well.
Great, thanks.
Without
BJ.
their context, I don't think it's a disadvantage, and, you know, we're not doing service for our job.
Yeah, and I'll also add, I don't know if the community is properly noticed about today's meeting, that's also, so.
I agree. And I have to be focused.
Thank you.
You know, there's no, you live in here.
Thank you, Samir.
How did people make these complaints?
They wrote emails to the CP5 office, because we, Sachi posted actually, I think, John, you did. They posted a notice saying there's gonna be a community hearing about this, and they had a deadline to.
And all 32 were about the width of the sidewalk?
And the safety and the concern for pedestrian traffic, et cetera.
But
If the pedestrian traffic is
Oh,
within the
sorry,
guidelines
okay,
is,
so John, we can't, sorry, this is
Oh,
business session, so,
sorry.
sorry.
David?
but
So this is Catherine. Can I make
Wait,
a comment?
Catherine, wait, sorry, we're just finishing a thought.
Okay.
This is legal. It's by the book, and it actually has more width than other places on the same street. So I'm inclined to vote yes to approve this today.
So as community board, we represent make sure that it's also our residents that are, that we care for, right? That's part of the reason why we go and do site visit and see what, and this is a very heavily residential area. And, on my, on my years of service in the board, 32 is the largest amount of opposition that we receive. So I think it is worth noting that they need to be heard at least. They need to be, we asked them for comments, so we need to.
They're not on the
Yeah,
call though.
so,
They didn't know about it.
anyway, okay,
They
so
didn't
we're
know
not gonna
about
have crosstalk. Catherine, you are next.
So, in response to the 32 comments, it is in this day of electronic email, what we found easy for residents to spread the same news. It would be helpful if they had the accurate information that if the applicant is compliant with the 4 feet or whatever the measurement is, and in the neighborhood there are restaurants already operating beyond that, just offering some accuracy to what may not be, what needs to be clarified is all I'm saying. And if the applicant is well within the guidelines that are established, I see we need to acknowledge the public comments, but we also need to clarify with an accurate context and sense of the what's actually being proposed and what is in the neighborhood now.
Thanks, Catherine. Todd?
Hi, everybody. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so 32 notices to our community board office about possible objections to this, in my experience, is a very high number, whether or not they're, the same thing as a result of a campaign or whether the people, did it on their own. It's a high enough number that we should exercise the utmost care in coming to our decision. Correct me if I'm wrong, we had no community meeting on this, did we?
We tried for Monday.
Okay, so before we come to a decision, I think it's absolutely critical, given the fact that I myself was confused. I thought that, our slot meeting was going to be next week. It turns out it was today. If you look on the calendar, I was looking on the calendar as of today, it said it was next week. So I think it's really important that we go ahead and have the community meeting and notice it properly and make sure that we use whatever time we have available to us to give everybody a chance to weigh in on this. Now, the reason that I ask, traditionally, our committee has tried very carefully to balance the interests of all parties. So, it sounds like a responsible operator, and I take them at their word. And there are other operators on the street. We should not reject it out of hand. Usually, if they're willing to cut it back, or in good faith negotiation with the other people on the block, they make some compromises. I think that would go a long way towards satisfying me. I understand his comments about, the space not being used, but one thing I've learned in parks and public spaces, and in reviewing this kind of application, empty space on the sidewalk has a value in and of itself. In other words, if you stop, if you just want to get out of the sun, if you just want to push your baby carriage to the side, the empty space itself has a value, right? It may not be directly related to people just walking, the pedestrian flow. So I think what we should do with this is, I think we should go ahead and do the community meeting if that's possible. List it again on our website with appropriate notice. And when we reconvene, the applicant did say they might be amenable to scaling it back a little bit. And we'll make an open-minded judgment at that time. And, you know, again, as you heard, my big thing, and I think it's something that our committee would be well advised to consider, because really these outdoor cafes are a new thing, is it's true that they may be in strict compliance with, you know, the DOT's standards, but our job is to view the entire block holistically and weigh the equities of all parties and the impact of the public realm of all these outdoor cafes. So, you know, we're at the beginning of that process. I think we should consider it. Thanks.
Thanks, Todd. Yeah, I mean, as you brought up and DJ brought up earlier, it's very possible that we can also choose to not take action tonight. So I just want to make sure that committee members are aware of that. Zona, I think you were next.
You're on mute.
No, she's not, but
It's right here.
I think it's the.
Okay. We'll switch to Yaron if you want to try again
Yeah.
later. Zona.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I do think it's unfortunate that we were not able to have a community meeting. I think that's unfortunate. I will say that if the issue here is the clearance, it seems that, you know, if we have a community meeting, we come back in a month from now, we'll be having the same conversation, because basically we have a group of residents who believe that 12 feet is not sufficient clearance for what they need on that block. And, you know, I don't know what it is that we're supposed to do with that, or I don't know what standard we would then use to determine what is sufficient clearance on that block. I don't know that scaling, Todd, you know, is proposing the scaling back, but as the applicant himself said, like going from 28 to 14 seats does not affect the clearance on the sidewalk. That's just like less tables along the side of the building. So, you know, I do think it's unfortunate we didn't have a community meeting, but I think we're going to have this same, I think after a community meeting, we're going to have the same conversation next month. And it's going to be, you know, is 12 feet enough clearance on that sidewalk? I happen to think it's totally sufficient clearance on that sidewalk. And I happen to think that that particular sidewalk, which overlooks, you know, Central Park, like is a great place to have outdoor dining and is in the best interest of the community. But so I guess I guess what I'm saying is I'm a little torn. It's like, I do think it's unfortunate we weren't able to have a meeting, but I don't know that there's a compromise here, because what's the compromise? It's like 12 feet is sufficient clearance or it's not. According to the city, it is, you know, and I don't know what other standard we would use. Thank you.
Yeah, no, Yaron, I think that's a great point. And I do want to point out that our comment to DOT is actually due on Saturday, on the 28th. So at this point, we would not bring it back to committee. At this point, I believe our options would be to waive review and actually forward any comment to the appropriate council member, and they will take this on if we choose not to make a decision tonight. So hold on. Samir.
Yeah, I mean, like you're on, I'm also torn. Just like the best way to do policy is that you create a strict set of rules, and that if you follow the rules, you get the box, and if you don't, you don't. And I think the role the community board plays, for better or for worse, is a place for people to complain, even if it might not affect the impact. Like they're following the rules, so I would vote yes on this no matter what. However, I do think it's valuable to have a place for the community to complain, and then if the applicant wants to make a different decision, they don't have to, but they could. I think it is valuable to have that place to complain. So I would be inclined to not comment on it, have a community meeting anyways, ideally with the, I guess, is it Gail Brewer in this area? Ideally with someone from their staff there so they can hear the complaints directly and then let them do with it what they will.
Zona, are you able to?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry. I agree with what others have said. I think that like the community board is a super important forum to give voice to the neighbors. So from that perspective, I agree that like having some other process where people can submit their opinions is really valuable. That said, I think personally, I'm ultimately supportive of this, given that it complies with like the distance requirements. I think what Samir just proposed about like not commenting and then potentially like having this other forum makes a lot of sense to me.
Great, thanks, Zona. Any other comments from the committee? Okay. Todd,
So-
can you make it quick?
Yeah, very quickly. So, if the consensus of the committee is that we're going to approve this with no comments or not comment at all, I would go along with it. What I would suggest personally is to approve it with a comment noting the comments to the office about the issue, the perceived issue of the street clearance. I hear Yaron and Samir saying that it's in strict compliance, but as I said, that's not the only issue. It's at least worth mentioning when this goes before the DOT and they make their final decision. If it turns out that, the holistic issues or it really does overload the sidewalk, I think that putting that on the record from our community board will have some value.
Great, thanks, Todd. Yeah, I mean, I think the consensus that I've heard is around the fact that we acknowledge that the application, we're operating under the assumption that the proposed setup complies with DOT guidelines. So we don't necessarily have an issue with that. The issue that we have is that we did receive significant complaint from the community, and it sounds like a majority of us are not comfortable proceeding with an opinion because we have not had a chance to plumb that deeper. It could very well be that we have the community meeting and the residents feel better after hearing what John has to propose. And maybe John doesn't necessarily need to change anything, but the fact that we just haven't had that opportunity. And again, we apologize that, due to technical difficulties and miscommunication, we couldn't have that community meeting before this meeting. But it sounds like we are comfortable summarizing what we've discussed today, passing that on to the appropriate council member, and letting it go from there. Does anyone disagree with that sentiment? Okay. So in that case, if we are not taking action, we actually don't need to make a motion or vote on anything. In this case, next steps would be to just get that community meeting scheduled, and hopefully we can get that done sooner rather than later. Try to iron out any of those comments, and again, meet our goals of trying to foster that positive relationship between the operator and the community. And we'll let the council member take it from there. So any last comments? Okay, so John, we will be in touch. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you. So just from my knowledge, so does this go to a vote on the 28th or it does not?
No, because we're not, so what we're gonna do is summarize what we discussed tonight, and we'll submit that by the deadline for your application, which is Saturday, so we'll submit it tomorrow. And we'll just say that, we did not have an issue, given that your application, we're assuming, conforms to the guidelines. However, we did receive significant concern, which we will summarize and submit with our feedback. And we'll send that to the council member, and the council member will likely take it from there.
And do we know how much this would delay the process, or would it not delay?
We're not, Josh, do you have?
It's not gonna delay the process at all. The timeline that we're given by DOT is pretty strict. So it's not gonna delay anything in terms of our timeline. Whatever comes next is up to the council member. But for your purposes, the process will be exactly the same.
Can I add something here? So it would only be the.
Todd, we're done with this application. Okay, so any last questions, Sean, before you can hop on?
No, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so last item on the agenda is an update from the Cannabis Task Force. Catherine?
Catherine, you're on
Good
mute.
evening, everyone. I sent a copy of what I'm discussing to everyone because I think it's important that you have it. The Cannabis Task Force did meet on the 16th of September, and we talked about focusing our our work into the SLAP committee. Where we stand right now with cannabis, retail dispensaries, opening, enforcement, we do really need the entire SLAP committee's voice and input. And so shout out to David, new member, for attending. And it was a well-attended meeting. We talked about really shifting the focus of our efforts into SLAP. Teams will start to take applications. We also talked about revising and updating guidelines. And the tools, we're still talking about the operational tools that we used, how we look at no response and rejections and affidavits, those kinds of things. This is still all new. And so we are moving forward in a very uncertain climate, but we're moving forward. That's the only thing that we all agree on, is that we're moving forward. So in response to our letter submitted to the OCM back in November, we got a response last month in September about 2 of the applicants where we applied CB5 guidelines. And basically what the OCM said to us, let me just also frame this. So we submitted this in November. Their response is in September. So we have a whole new team of people. We have a whole new leadership in CB5. And so the timeliness of their response also weighs on how quickly and what we need to do. But in any case, they responded to the 2 applications. I want to say that our letter is a public letter, so it's part of their public work, that we were not the only community board in which they responded to. So there are 59 community boards in the city, and there were at least 10-15% that they responded to with specificity in terms of, because we sent a letter, they responded last month in September. And basically what they're saying to us is, these are our guidelines. Your guidelines don't hold because they're not attached to municipality law. They're not attached to what we're doing now, is essentially what they're saying. What I will say to you is, the big difference between now and then, when we were doing this, there was no proximity rule. There's now a proximity rule that says that cannabis locations should be within 1,000 feet of each other. In all the cases, as I reviewed the new location tool, in all cases, every cannabis location open in CB5 has a proximity agreement. Going forward, what that will mean, I'm not sure. It's still uncertain, because according to the Independent Budget Office, they're trying to open up 400 New York City locations as soon as they can. So this was the response to the letter. My suggestion is that we do respond to the letter. We talk about the proximity protection being an important part of the work of having locations open and moving forward. They now on the tool talk about pending an active location, so we can get a better handle. We don't at this time have a sense. We're kind of waiting for applicants to send us OCM notification, and then we're acting. So we do have to come up with new guidelines, and SLAP is this is a license. These are people seeking licenses. This is SLAP. So we're going to propose some new guidelines. We are able to use what we know in our experience from the state, from the SLA, but we don't have to use what we know from the SLA. We should use what's useful, both in language and certainly in the work that we do. I also am suggesting that we talk about the uprising and ongoing compliance issues that are unaddressed, in particular at 958 6th Avenue, but other locations. So we have records, people have reached out directly to our office. We have that data, and we should share that with OCM because there is still an absence of a system that is fully functionally working at enforcement and compliance. And that we should also take the opportunity to respond to the Public Convenience and Advantage Act. This opposes the proximity protection rule. So in some locations, they're saying that you can propose public convenience and advantage as a way of not having to hold the proximity protection. So I think we need to get into some of those details. I am really glad to see the legal online cannabis activities locators. Thank you to Josh for sending the update to that. And we can use that as a tool. If you open up that tool, it gives you the pending applications. So we can get a little bit better handle on what the pipeline looks like in CB5. And that just came out yesterday.
Great, thank you.
I'm
Catherine.
almost finished.
Go ahead, sorry.
I also review lightly here the New York City Council oversight hearing on cannabis enforcement because it just highlights that a lot of the regulatory efforts are still proposed and in process, but there is progress. I was particularly interested to hear from the IBO about what they thought the challenges were and how and some of their take on what the opportunity might be going forward, as well as just knowing that local law enforcement does now have the power and authority to respond to the unlicensed sale of cannabis products. That was an emergency rule that started in May of this year that became more formalized again last month. So going forward, we really do need your input. I'll say this about, I also highlight what the enforcement has looked like. We do know that locations in CB5 have been closed. Some have reopened in the middle of the night. Others have operations on the sidewalk. So the location is closed, but people are outside selling in front of the location. And so as you're walking around, you will notice this because if I'm walking around and notice it, you'll notice it. There are other operators who are doing just fine, who are not, who are self-regulating both with hours. I think we're still talking about time, place, and manner with most of these applications, but we need to operationalize based on what has happened since these last few months in terms of changes and being better able to respond to applicants. I think we've been, this is a nascent process. It's not easy. Every day something comes across that's new, but what I will say is we had a community meeting with an applicant that's going to be in a residential meeting. And if I could add anything about community meetings, they're always eye-opening. They're always worthwhile to hear. When people write you and then they sit down and talk together, there is something to be said that can influence for the better the application and the tensions. And so we heard Yolin and I have been meeting with this applicant and the residents, and they're going to try to go forward with their own mutual agreement and have an affidavit, and that's going to be something new for a cannabis application. We also were able to hear from the applicant about the reality of their challenges with finding locations. So, and David, I think, you had raised, why is it so hard? And I think what we're hearing from applicants is everything from the structure of the business structure that has to be in place is a challenge, as well as the retail, trying to find the location. So we're also going to try to have a speaker in November come to us from Cannabis NYC to see if we can't all together get on the same page. So that's my update. And that's about it for now.
Thank you, Catherine. Yeah, I'll open up for questions or comments. Samir?
Comment. I live around the corner from what was once an illegal cannabis store and the sheriff's department shut it down. I would highly recommend if you see ones around you, there's an email, you can email, they seem to be, I mean, according to Gail Brewer, they've inspected 95% of the complaints. I think that's great. And then just really quick, I read the 2 proposed bills that were on the bottom of the email that Catherine sent out. I think they're both great, and at some point in the future, I would love it if we took it up to write a resolution in support of both.
Thank you, Samir, for saying that. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So noted. Okay. And let me just say this, as CB5 members, we're all in neighborhoods and we see stuff. You can use the tools. I put them up. You could send it to CB5 office, but just like Samir said, use the 311 system, use the OCM system, because what I say to residents is, we pull the 311 reports, we pull the data to substantiate whatever it is we're trying to convey, that it's not just our wishful thinking, that we are hearing from the public. So you are the public in this case, and your input helps in terms of the 311 or the OCM tool.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I think, when we have city council intros where we are lacking, some of our council members are not listed as sponsors, I think it's a good opportunity for us to use our community board as a way to get them on.
Thank you.
You're on.
I was just literally going to say what Samir said in terms of the supporting those bills. Like, if we need to do a letter or resolution, like, we should absolutely do that. I defer to the committee about when the right time for that is, but this seems like a great use of community board, firepower, should we have any, because I think these bills are great.
Any other questions or comments about this topic? Okay, so that concludes our agenda. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, you're on. Did you want to plug your new task force?
Yeah, thank you. We're building a task force within SLAP. That so far is myself, Christopher, Samir, and Yoden. And the task force is going to be working on updating the RLA. So it's a document that's on our website. I can send it around for those who aren't super familiar. It's what we just talked about with the first applicant, is the set of regulations that we have around the restricted licensing area down in 20th Street, 21st Street, 26th Street, 19th Street. I'm not going to get into all of it, but what the task force is going to do, this document has not been updated for roughly 15 years. So what the task force is going to do is going to think about all these new kinds of applications that are coming in. We just talked about how they aren't neatly complying or fitting into what the RLA thought. So update based on that, and also try to use a data-driven approach and community input to see if the geography of the RLA is still what it needs to be. So we need help. I think this is a really interesting and important task. I will also be clear, this task force is advisory and it is not processing applications. Applications will still be processed through the normal channels. This is, we are going to be looking at this document and trying to update this document. So we need help. So please reach out to me if you're interested in working on this with us. I think it's a great opportunity to update, what we need to update and do what's right for the district. So let me know.
I have new business.
Thanks, Ron.
Sure. Yeah. Can we discuss what the process is for at minimum, I just want to make sure that on Monday we couldn't hold a meeting.
Mhm,
So I would
yeah.
like to know, what is the process? Can we at least have a backup or at least a cell phone number of the office?
Yeah, for
It was
sure.
very awkward. I wasted 30 minutes. I don't know if it was
Yeah.
before. It was 30 minutes of John's time. And I don't know what the follow-up was to that.
Yep.
time. So
Yeah,
I would like to know the process.
Yeah, let's talk about that offline with our internal operational.
Well, I
issues.
think it concerns staff committee members too. If we have to do their.
No, everyone should talk, sorry. Yeah, so still, yeah, public session, no public session, so. Okay. Todd, we're adjourned. Is that, are you commenting on what BJ just said? Because we can just talk offline.
No, this is for Yaron. I think it's worth mentioning and being part of our discussion.
Okay.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
So I'm in agreement. I think that the task force is well advised. The district has changed, and it's a great idea to reconsider a lot of the work that was done 15 years ago. The only thing I would mention is, yes, the resources to do it are limited. We're all volunteers. There may be an opportunity. There are fellowships and things that are made available. I don't know if you saw what came around. I think it was from the office about getting a fellow in to collect data and metrics about everything that's happened in our district. If we could somehow write up a plan and maybe get somebody to work full-time documenting the metrics relevant to the the license of the RLA area, that would certainly help the task force.
Thank you, Todd.
Thanks, Todd. Okay. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.